Exam season is fast approaching for a lot, with the countdown switching from months to weeks, and before you know it, it will be a few days before your actual exams that will determine your final grade. Whether you're at GCSEs or at A levels, it's definitely a daunting time, and me being in those positions not too long ago can definitely relate to the struggles. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Jackery and I'm a first year medical student studying at UCL. And in this video, I'm going to talk about a few things that I would do closer to my exams that I feel was a large part in my academic success. Now for reference, just to give you a bit of confidence that some of the things I'm talking about do genuinely work, I achieved grade 9s in every subject at GCSEs and A star at every subject in A level, so hopefully that gives you a bit more confidence. Now without wasting any time, let's get straight into the things I would do, and obviously timestamps will be in the description below so you can jump around and find exactly what you're looking for without wasting any time. Step 1 is to avoid cramming. Now I know this is such a cliche bit of advice, and I feel like a lot of people tell you to stop cramming without actually expanding on it. Obviously most people know cramming is bad, but sometimes you're in a position where you feel like you have no choice. But in my opinion, I think one way to really avoid cramming is by interleaving all your subjects together. Now you might be wondering, what is interleaving? To put it in basic terms, it means not to just work on one subject on a single day, but instead mix it up a bit. So for example, instead of studying just biology on a Monday, for example, you might decide to study biology with maths as well. This is something that I did very strongly closing up to my exams, and even the night before my exams. Something that I feel I did differently to a handful of people is, for example, if I had a maths exam the next day, instead of just studying maths the night before, I will still stick to my interleaving timetable. So I would do another subject along with that maths. And a lot of people might be wondering, why would you do that? For your final exam, surely you want to put most of your focus on the exam you had the day before. And yes, I can understand the reasoning, but there were a number of reasons why I was still interleave. Now the main reason was to avoid burnout. I felt like if I was to just study that one subject in and out that whole day, then come the exam time, I would genuinely be burnt out and I probably wouldn't be able to perform as well as I want to. Whereas if I kind of had a better balance and I interleaved, it would just help me feel a lot more relaxed, a lot less stressed for the exam, and I would just feel like I wasn't overwhelmed by the topic. So for example, if I had a biology exam the next day, if I was to study just biology the day before, chances are come the biology exam my brain would be totally fried. It's done so much biology that now that it actually matters, it just can't function. Whereas I found when I would mix up the subjects, then it would just take a lot of load off me, and it would also mean I'd have to be smarter with my revision. I knew I wouldn't have the whole day to revise the subject, so instead I would solely focus on the bits I was struggling on. Now you might be wondering, how did I kind of pair up my subjects and how did I decide what subject to interleave? Well, it was really simple for me. All I would do, and I think this works for both GCSEs and A levels, it's slightly harder for A levels because you have fewer subjects and an odd number in most cases, but it's still possible. So what I used to do for GCSEs is I took all my subjects and I ranked them from my favorite subject to my least favorite subject. And what I would do is I would then get my favorite subject and I would study it alongside my least favorite subject. Then I'd get my second favorite subject and study it alongside my second favorite subject, and so on and so forth. You get the pattern. And the main reason for this was it was almost like a positive reinforcement system where my least favorite subject, obviously I wouldn't want to really study it, but my most favorite subject, I'd be more encouraged, more motivated to study it. So essentially it was kind of like I study my least favorite subject, and after maybe an hour or so, I would then switch to my more favorable subject, and this would kind of, one, give me something to look forward to, and two, in a weird way, be like a reward. Now I know you're thinking like, oh, how is studying a reward? But I don't care what anyone says, everyone has that one subject that they actually enjoy studying for. For me at GCSEs, it was maths. I A levels it was probably psychology, but it doesn't matter. And for A levels you can do the same thing. Again, pair up your subject. Now again, I know there's only 3 A levels for most people, so what you could really do is just kind of pair them up anyhow. It won't really matter. Let's say you have subject 1, 2 and 3. On day 1 you study subject 1 and subject 2. On day 2 you study subject 2 and subject 3. On day 4 you study subject 3 and subject 1, and you just repeat that. The whole point is you're never spending one day solely studying a single subject. You're gonna get bored, you're gonna get burnt out, and you're just not going to be able to perform as well in the exam, because likely chance is that you'll peak during your revision and then it will just be a downhill trend from there. Next tip is to have some structure. And I know again that sounds vague, and it's meant to sound vague. I don't want to tell you how to have a structure because it's just different for every student. But it kind of follows on to the last point of having a plan to help you avoid getting burnt out. Now, I kind of alluded to how to make a timetable with the last point with interleaving, but the point is, it's different for everyone. I know some students like to religiously time block their day to the minute. I know some people who like to have very rough time blocks where they associate different parts of the day with work and relaxing. And I know some people who can get by with just a simple to-do list, a kind of checklist where they tell themselves that it doesn't matter how they get it done as long as they get it done before the day ends. But my point is, you need some sort of structure. If closer to the exams you're waking up every day and you have no clue what you're really planning to do, then that's probably a big issue. When you're waking up, you should at least have some rough idea of what you're going to do. It doesn't matter if you've got it down to the minute or you just have like a simple to-do list. The point is, you know, and it takes out a lot of effort from the whole deciding what to do. And I know for me, when I wouldn't have some sort of rough plan, I would kind of wake up every day and not really know what to do, and I would just kind of default to very messy revision where I would eventually get to doing some practice questions here or there, but there was no coherency. I mean, even at medical school now, I've got my exams coming up in May, and for the longest part I didn't sit down and make a timetable, and so I just kind of woke up every day, no clue what to do, and just defaulted to doing Anki and nothing else, which wasn't really that effective because I wasn't able to more deeply target the parts I was struggling on. Now what I've done is I've kind of made like a very vague timetable. Now I'm someone who doesn't like to time block very religiously. I've tried it a few times, but I always find that once I've fallen behind on one thing, it kind of compounds. But if it works for you, please by all means do it. The whole point is, don't be waking up every single day and your schedule being a complete guessing game, okay? Because you're just going to reach the end of your exams and you wouldn't have revised as efficiently as you could have. Now, tip number 3 is to prioritize active forms of revision. There's not much else to really add to this apart from, if by this point you're exclusively only doing, and the keyword being only doing, highlighting, you know, rereading, summarizing, then there's an issue, okay? At this point, you should be heavily relying on active recall, things like past paper questions, things like blurting, so like writing down everything you can think of and then marking it afterwards, things like flashcards, anything to actually get your brain to think. Now the issue is that for some people, they kind of prefer that sense of productivity over that difficulty in getting something wrong and having to really think about it. And the issue with these passive forms of revision is they give you this positive reinforcement. They make you feel like you're doing something very productive. When you make pages and pages of notes, you look at it and you have something tangible to tell you that you've done work. Whereas with active recall, with active revision, a lot of the times you finish your revision and you might have gotten the majority of the questions wrong. You might have not been able to get that many concepts correct. But the point is, that process of getting things wrong and revisiting it in the long run will do you so much better, and it will avoid you coming to the exams and being in that state of confusion where you're thinking, you know, I've done so much revision and nothing is making sense. So please prioritize active revision. If you haven't already, then you really need to. And it doesn't matter whether you're revising for A levels or GCSEs, even in medical school, active revision is so important. The next tip is to get into a routine. And this isn't just me talking about having a schedule and knowing what you're going to do. It means being disciplined, holding yourself accountable, you know. Closer to the exams, you really can't afford to be as carefree, unfortunately. It doesn't mean you can't enjoy yourself, but a large part of being able to kind of filter in things like enjoyment and extracurricular and whatnot is to have a routine. This includes, you know, getting into habits, so things like sleeping on time. This doesn't necessarily mean sleep early. I'm not saying sleep at like 8 p.m. or whatever, but you know, have a repetitive routine. Don't confuse your body. If you have a certain time, like for example, I know during exam season I like to sleep at around midnight, 11 p.m. midnight, but it's different for everyone. The point is, have a routine, you know, make time to relax, make time to have breaks, take a day off once a week, you know, things like this. Make that routine so that you kind of have a plan, and again, it just takes out a bit of that guesswork, and it just helps you manage stress so much more. I know when I have a routine, when I have a rough idea of how my day is going to go, when I know when I'm scheduled breaks, when I'm allowed to have free time, then it goes a long way in helping me manage my stress and overall just do better in my exams. Having some sort of schedule can also give you a lot of motivation to get work done, and usually I don't advocate for motivation. I think discipline is so much better, but with exams so close by, motivation isn't a completely bad thing, and for a lot of people that motivation can get them to the end. But still, you know, work on your discipline, but don't freeball everything, you know. Give yourself some leeway or give yourself some help by setting a schedule to some extent. And the last bit of advice is for when you're actually in that exam period. So everything I've mentioned before is about that build up. Now I want you to imagine you've actually started your first exam, and you're about to start this kind of cascade of exam after exam after exam. Okay, and a very important thing you need to know, and I think something that helped me a lot, is to always look ahead. Okay, after you've done an exam, it's in the past. Okay, I want you to take that exam and not even think about it. And this includes like simple things like, after an exam you obviously can't change what you wrote, so what point is there really going around finding out what everyone else wrote and just stressing yourself out a lot more? A lot of people fixate so much on their past exams that they completely forget they've got like a bunch of exams in front of them. So don't make that mistake. Focus ahead. Even if you feel like you didn't do too well on an exam, don't let that affect your future exams. It will only make it worse if you end up doing not as well on the second or third paper of that subject. Okay, so make sure you're looking ahead, and make sure you don't get caught up in that whole exam gossip. Obviously it's inevitable, it's just human nature and curiosity, but don't get too fixated. If someone's put a different answer to you, just leave it in the past. Like, for all you know, you're the one who got it right, for all you know they got it right, or for all you know you both got it wrong. It doesn't matter, because that's for the examiners to decide. You've done your part, now focus on the next exam. And with that, we've reached the end of the video, so hopefully if you found those things useful, then you can like the video, subscribe, and let me know what you thought, or even if you have any additional tips that might have worked for you that I might not have mentioned, because it can help others. Hopefully you guys smash your exams, all the best, and I'm sure with enough preparation and if you follow these tips, then it will help you in that journey to really doing as well as you potentially can. That's been all from me. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.